Monday, Johnson Monday, Johnson Monday. Dari din ta di na lu, nim din ye bi na le, nim chi ze ba jina, se sun de shugela. Nim din ye bi na le, zami ma di na lu. Shapan sun de shuge, ten de zambi nim bilu. Johnson Monday, Johnson Monday, Johnson Monday.
The next segment, it is called Insight for Impact, and under this topic we try to talk about an important topic, and for tonight we're going to talk about this topic called vegetarianism, a hope for climate change. Effect of climate change is getting louder every year, so it's of paramount importance that we chip in, we do our bits to battle for the great cause, right? So do you think that turning vegetarian is a hope for climate change?
It definitely is. Climate change, when we think about climate change, we think about greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
That's the number one reason. And climate change, like you rightly mentioned, is the right term now, because when we were in school, we used to study it as global warming. And there is a problem with calling it global warming, because then we think that, global warming is not, it should be that winters should also be hot. We should be having warmer winters. But climate change is the right term to describe it, because it's extreme weather patterns.
Yeah.
It's not only summer is too hot, winter is too cold, we have summer before time, winter before time, flash floods that we are seeing in Bhutan. Cloud bursts happening, windstorms, cyclones. I mean, the climate is alive in a not so favorable way for humans, and in many sense we asked for it. In a sense that even if you were to look at it in a karmic light as well, also a 7.2 billion population, and if you calculate the amount of animals that are slaughtered for consumption every year, it is not less than 15 billion animals. And this I'm talking only about land animals. If you take into account sea animals, rivers, fishes, and the amount of so-called food that we put on our table, then it crosses over 33, I think, billion animals killed every year. And we as Bhutanese and Buddhists, we believe in lay jude. So if you're doing that to the animals, it's bound to come back at you in some form or the other. Now that's the Buddhist angle of it. The other side of it is, the UN came out with a paper back in 2009 or 10 called The Long Shadow of Animal Agriculture or something like that. The United Nations shared in that animal farmers and animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than cars, ships, aeroplanes, basically any form of automobile and transportation that you have on the planet. Animal farming trumps that. You have more greenhouse gas emissions from, and one would wonder where and how and why, because at the end of the day, let me share a fun fact. We can call it fun, but it's in a sense it's scary also. It's like when you don't eat one hamburger, you save water enough to drink for 3 years. That's one hamburger. When we think about meat, we think about so much of modern Bhutan, and especially in the West. When you go to a mall and you go to a grocery 7-Eleven and you pick up bacon or you pick up turkey and all of that stuff, you see this happy animal or this happy cow telling you to eat me.
Yeah, so ironical.
Yeah, and much of the kids don't know. Like for instance, one of my nephews, he's grown up now, but when he was a young boy, he said he wants to stop eating meat. I don't know what was the reason. But he stopped eating meat and he said, I'm not eating meat, but I'm going to eat sausages. And for him, he didn't know that sausages were meat.
Yes.
And he was a small kid. But even grown-ups, and especially in the West, and so much of us in urban Bhutan, do not make the connection that, the beef that you're eating, you have even called it meat, beef, God knows what, it's actually flesh. It's a living cow, or it's a hen, or it's a mother or a father. And when I think about Changse Monday, when I think about, I hope I'm not diverting, I'll come back to the environmental impacts of it. But when I think about, because so much of our followers on online they are not eating meat for religious reasons. And they give the reason that manam khadanyam bisemche thamche, what we learned in school, that all sentient beings are your mother in a past life.
Yeah.
And that logic works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. For me, I take that logic a bit further by saying that manam khadanyam bisemche thamche mema, the semche thamche is a ma or a pa, It's the cow, the pig, the hen that you're eating, or the rooster is another animal's mother or father or brother or sister or uncle or aunt or God knows what. We are a population of a little over 7 billion now in 2019. And from the 7 billion people, it's overwhelming. I can't even wrap my head around the fact that 1 billion of us are hungry on the planet. There is data which shares that every 3.6 seconds, a child dies of extreme hunger. At the end of the day, it will be shocking for us to believe that the grains that are grown in India, and as well as maybe in future in Bhutan as well also, they find their ways in ships and cargo planes to America to be fed to the cows there, to be fed to the pigs there. And I'm not saying that cows and pigs don't deserve the grain. I just feel that the grains which could have fed human beings did not need to be sent to animals which are going to eventually be killed for food.
Just like long way around, right?
It's a very inefficient way of raising food to sustain the planet. Some people and some scientists and experts share that to live on a so-called meat-heavy diet, where our meat requirements are met, we might need 3 or 4 planet Earths to grow our food if you were going to live on, on meat. Very recently, which is breaking my heart, and I was heartbroken when I found out about it, the Amazon. The Amazon are the lungs of our planet. It's growing, the fire there is spreading so fast. And even before this forest fire as well also, Brazil is the #1 exporter of beef. And like I was sharing throughout the length of this show, beef or cow, aka cow, need food to eat. And one very fattening food which is good for them is soybeans. And much of the Amazon forest, there are some data which say that every minute close to a football field is being cleared to raise soy for these cows.
Chansem Monday, Chansem Monday, Chansem Monday, Chansem Monday, Chansem Monday, Chansem